The single mom epidemic in Brazil is very high because a lot of these guys are literally dating these girls, knocking them up and leaving and moving on to the next. And that happens a lot in Brazil.
Hey, Jamie Woods, we here to travel and motivate. No curry, we just trying to keep our minds in the golden state. We answer to nobody but the Lord, we control our fate. Too many things to see just to sit in a hole and bake. We growing, ayy.
So guys, this is part 2 of my Dating in Brazil series. I hope you enjoyed part 1, but here are some more stuff for you guys for part 2. And get your popcorn ready and your drinks ready because it's going to be very interesting. But let's get it started over here. Category number 4, best places to meet women in Brazil. Let's go over it. Of course, we got to start off with the beaches. I mean, come on. Whether it's in Rio, Salvador, Florianopolis, it don't matter. Beaches is a prime time spot because beaches are like ingrained into Brazilian culture. You know, like that's a big thing. Like that's what I'm telling you. Like Brazil has the best beach culture because people out there take it like religion. Not only do they take football and funk seriously, but they take the beach very seriously. And in Rio, they're always in the academia, going hard, going crazy because they're trying to be the most fly in the beach. And there's a lot of single women getting tipsy in that beach, having some good old time. And I'm telling y'all, if you know Portuguese and you got that confidence, man, that is a good spot to meet women out there, man. It's very easy. You don't even got to be in the beach, actually. You could be outside the beach walking in the boardwalk, whatever you want to call it, by the beach. And every time a girl passes by you, bro, I got so many stares when I was in Brazil. Bro, I was wearing like a tank top like this when my muscles were out. I was walking just like that over there. And I was speaking to my boy in English, and a lot of them were looking my way because they knew I was kind of American, but I was also a little jacked. So they were like, and they kept looking at me crazy. But I ain't gonna lie to y'all, there were points I didn't want to talk to anyone because I didn't really have a good understanding of Portuguese. So I was just gonna make myself look like a fool if I even try to talk to them. But now, shit, damn, bro. The Portuguese I got now, shit, bro, I'm going crazy. But that's what I'm telling y'all. Like, listen, man. Like beaches is the place to go, and not even, bro, you could literally go on the elevator, you could go to the streets, bro. Brazil has so much action going on, so many people out in the streets. Brazilians are some of the most outdoorsy people I've ever met. These people are never in the crib unless it's raining. When it rains, everyone's in the crib. You will see nobody outside when it rains. They're allergic to the rain. But when it's dry out and the sun is out, whoo, everywhere. You even got to go to the beach. But the beach is a prime time spot because everyone's there. Girls are getting drunk. They in the bikini. They trying to meet someone. That is a dope ass spot to meet someone. Of course, nightclubs is another spot. So yeah, nightclubs is cool, but it can be a little like weird in the nightclubs. The music is very loud. Of course, in Brazil, I don't know if y'all knew, but they like live music out in Brazil. So it's very loud. Everyone's cheering, having a good time. So you got to be very careful. You got to be able to scope the area, make sure these girls don't got no guys, no boyfriends, anything like that. But the challenge you will encounter, like in America, for example, is when you do approach them, it's going to be loud as fuck in there. So you may not be able to conversate with them. Then on top of that, there's a language barrier issue. You know, I remember when I was in Lapa, which is a social district, a party district in Rio de Janeiro. My first time in Lapa, I was there with my boy. And I was trying to approach this one girl because the problem is he didn't drink any beer. And of course, I'm going to go over this in a future video. But I got this whole 24 pack of beer out there, like an ice bucket full of many beers. And so I couldn't drink it on my own because my boy doesn't drink beer. He told me after the fact. So I was like, man, I need someone to share this with. And girls out there love beer. So I saw this cute little girl that was next to me. So I went up to her. And one, it was loud as hell. So I had a hard time communicating with her with my minimal Portuguese. But also I had minimal Portuguese. So yeah, it was hard to communicate with her. But it was even harder to understand what she was saying because of how loud it was. And of course, the language barrier. So yeah, you could still meet girls in the bar. I mean, it could happen, you know what I mean? But letting y'all know, it's gonna be loud, it's gonna be, you know what I mean? Just make sure you guys are scoping, because the last thing you want is taking someone's girl. You're in Brazil, you don't know where this guy's from or what is he about or who he's associated with. So just make sure you be careful. But yes, the clubs is a very good spot to go because Brazilians love to party and they know how to party very well. Okay, so yeah, whether it's in Sao Paulo or Rio. In fact, I think Sao Paulo got a better nightlife scene than Rio. So Rio is more of a daytime. So if you're a daytime game type of guy, Rio's the spot. If you're more nighttime nocturnal game club guy, Sao Paulo. So play to your strengths, guys. But yes, nightclub is another spot. Now, dating apps. I'm gonna talk about dating apps real quick because this is one thing I gotta say about Brazil, and this is across the board. Don't matter what city it is. I tried it out. All right, I've been trying it out for years now. But Tinder out there really isn't the best. I'm not gonna lie. Tinder is really not that good out there. I don't think it's that good. You might get a couple results. You know, maybe if you're a really, really good looking guy, you might get some more. But I don't really think Brazilian women are really using Tinder like that. They might be using what's that called? Brazilian Cupid. I think Brazilian Cupid might be the most popular social media outlet or dating app out there over Tinder. But again, that's not to say you won't get matches, but what I've noticed is that it's not as popping as, let's just say, a Colombia or a DR, or even in the States. I get more matches in the States than what I do in Brazil. Brazil's really not that popping when it comes to Tinder. I'm gonna be very honest. If y'all don't believe me, you could try it out for yourselves. And if I'm wrong, put it in the comment section. If I'm wrong, guys, if I'm wrong about the Tinder statement, y'all can dead ass tell me I'm a liar or whatever the case you want to say in the comment section. But I'm standing on that hill. Brazil is not really that good when it comes to Tinder because Brazilians are more social people. They're more out in the streets. The Tinder in Brazil is being outside, going to the beach, going to the nightclub, going to the samba bars, going to the kiosks. That is the Tinder in Brazil, is actually going out there and talking. It's more old school as compared to here in the US or a place like Colombia, who more hybrid system in Colombia where you could do both. But yeah, in Brazil is strictly outdoors, and maybe you'll get a couple matches on Tinder, but it's nothing crazy. I'm not going to lie to y'all. So you can try it out for yourselves. If I'm wrong, write it down, but I don't really think so. But yeah, dating apps isn't really the best out there.
I think Ipanema is better for us from Rio. It's better than Copacabana.
Yeah, when I go to Brazil, I'm gonna message you so that way I get all the good spots.
Okay, we can meet. I live in Rio.
Oh, you live in Rio? Okay, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Copacabana é bonito, mas não se compara com Ipanema. Não sei, porque Ipanema é minha praia preferida. You're so focused, Jaime.
Gotta lose this weight. I can't go to Rio fat.
I have to do this.
Maybe when I'll show you.
Okay. Deal.
Number 5 is how to approach a Brazilian woman in Brazil. So now, guys, it's just like anywhere else. It is just like anywhere else. You just got to be confident. That's really all. I know everyone says it. You got to be confident. You got to be confident. You got to be confident. It's very cheesy. But no, for real, you just got to be confident. And there's not as much pressure out in Brazil because the thing is, Brazilian women are very nice and they're very understanding. And what I've noticed about Brazilian women is that they won't be rude if they don't like you. Like, yes, you'll meet rude people anywhere, but Brazilian women are very nice. So even if they don't like you, they'll let you down slowly and they'll be nice about it. It's not like in other countries where you approach a girl and be like, oh, get away from me. No, or they'll just flat out ignore you and be rude. It's not like that in Brazil. You could approach any girl you want, and if they don't fuck with you, they'll be nice about it. Like, hey, I got a boyfriend. Usually that's what a lot of them say is, oh, I got a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever the case is, and they'll let you down slowly and be like, oh, but I think you're still cute, but I got a boyfriend. You know what I mean? That's what they usually say. So it's not as bad. So you really got nothing to lose, guys. You got everything to gain and nothing to lose. It's not like they're gonna call the cops on you because you approach them out there. It's way different out there. You just gotta be direct. You gotta be confident. Over there in Brazil, what I do notice is you can be more direct with the women. Out here in the States, it's kind of like you can't express so much interest and you can't call them like cute little names out here in America because people find that very creepy here. Like, for example, in Colombia specifically and in Brazil, it's okay to call a girl off the rip, my love, like mi amor, minha querida, my dear, you know, things like that. It's okay to call them cute little names like that, and they're okay with it because it's normal in Latin America to call girls that. Right? And they kind of expect you to call them that in Latin America as compared to here in America where it's kind of like, no, don't call me that. Well, baby, I just met you. Why you call me that? You know, complete opposite cultures. Out there, you could be more direct about what you want. So you could tell her, hey, I think you're beautiful. I want to take you on a date. What's up? Right? Or if you want to cut straight to the chase, you could be like, hey, I think you're beautiful. Do you think I'm cute? Oh, you do? All right, cool. Well, how about later on you come to my crib? We have some wine, hint, hint. And yeah, you could literally be like that in Brazil. You could literally be like that. Now, they could decline your offer. They could tell you no, or they got a boyfriend, whatever, but they're going to do it very nicely. As long as you're being respectful to them, they're going to be respectful to you. Category number 6. This is a very interesting one. So do Brazilian women prefer Brazilian men or American men? And I'm gonna say it like this: there's no real answer to that. It really depends on the woman. I've had certain women have told me they prefer Brazilian men because of the culture similarities, and I've had other women tell me they prefer American men because they don't like Brazilian men because Brazilian men are players and all that. And you know, Brazilian men do have a tendency and a kind of like a reputation for being players. I mean, the single mom epidemic in Brazil is very high because a lot of these guys are literally dating these girls, knocking them up and leaving and moving on to the next. And that happens a lot in Brazil and nothing's done about it, right? It's not like here where you knock a girl up, you're going to be a child support or something. The government's going to assist them. In Brazil, it don't work like that. So some girls are kind of tired of that playerism, even though they're attracted to the Brazilian men for the same reasons, because they're players and, you know, they got the charisma and good looks. They also hate them for that same reason too, because they're players. So they can't take these guys seriously because they're going to knock them up, leave. They're going to talk to other girls. And it happens a lot out there. And I'm not saying all Brazilian men are the same way, but this happens a lot. So because of that, it's kind of led them to dating other races, foreigners. So when Americans do come by and they introduce themselves to the girl, like I said, approach them. You got nothing to really lose, everything to gain. They're like, okay, this guy speaks some Portuguese. He's handsome. And that's something that like Brazilian women love about American men over Brazilian men. That's what I will give us American guys and foreigners, is that they like how gentlemen we are. We're more, not saying Brazilian men are not this way, but like, again, I'm sticking to the stereotypes. I'm not saying everyone is this way, but the stereotypes. That's what I'm talking about. Because American men have the stereotype of being gentlemen, holding the door open, you know, taking things seriously. With foreign women, specifically foreign women, like I've noticed there's a lot of American men that go out to Colombia and Brazil, meet one or two girls, and literally like settle with that woman immediately. Like the first girl they meet, they're literally settling with her because she's like the best thing ever to them, because they're not used to such femininity and affection and warmness and beauty, right? So they settle with that girl, and Brazilian women see this. Like maybe some of their friends are probably dating an American guy, and they saw how the American guy is financially supporting her, and they're married, they have children, it's beautiful, and they want that too, and they see that. And that's the thing, is that some Brazilian women prefer American men because they understand there is a future with them and there's stability with American men compared to Brazilian men, where it's just fun and vibes. You know, like if you want fun and vibes, you go Brazilian men. If you want stability and commitment, you go with the American man. So that's the thing. It really depends. But like, also, I have met certain Brazilian women that don't like American men. And I've made a video about this before in the past. But they don't like American men for the reason that American men, we can come out very cocky and arrogant. And we kind of belittle other cultures and other countries because of the American dollar, because we're richer and more powerful, right? And that's what I will say is, yeah, we do, as Americans, while we do also have a good reputation, we also do have a bad reputation. Because some of us go out and we start flexing and throwing money up in the air and treating people and locals weird because we think we're superior because we have more money than them. And that's the thing that comes off bad. And so these Brazilian girls see that, and they kind of get turned off by that, and they stick to their own kind. They stick to the Brazilian guys because Brazilian men aren't really cocky and arrogant. They're just confident. So there's a difference between confidence and arrogance, right? Arrogance is you having to always go out there and prove you're that guy and say things like, oh, I got more money. Look, all the money I got. Look at the car I got. That's being arrogant. Confidence is understanding that you're that man. And understanding the fact that you don't got to always go out there and say things and do things to prove your worth, because you understand that you already have that within you already. You don't got to do the most. Arrogant men got to do the most in order to prove that, yeah, I'm that dude. So that's what some Americans do. And so these Brazilian girls get turned off by that. So yes, I have met Brazilian women that feel this way. And also because of the language barrier, like I said before, they don't really establish a deep connection with a lot of Americans. A lot of Americans don't even take the time to learn Portuguese. So because of that, it's an awkward feeling where you two are hanging out and you're doing things, but you don't really understand each other. And you can't really build a bond or have a conversation because you don't understand each other. So you're just passing a translator. And I don't care what anyone says, you can't really build love that way. I mean, yeah, it exists, right? But you can't really build love that way. Love, a lot of it has to really do with communication, how you make a woman feel. And while you could do that physically, another big aspect of that is being able to conversate with her and making her feel something with your words. So if you can't do that, then she's like, I have no connection with you, and she's just going to view you as an ATM machine. And that does happen in Brazil. So that's the thing, is some women don't really feel anything for American men after some time, because that whole lure and the exoticness kind of fades away after a while, because they can't really communicate with you. At first they thought you were cool, oh my god, America, da, da, da. But then after a while they figure out, okay, like it's, you know, it's nice that I'm talking to an American guy, but I can't really talk to him. I can't really do anything. Like, he doesn't know anything about Brazilian culture. He doesn't know anything about Brazilian music. He doesn't know anything about Brazilian food. And while they can teach you, and that's kind of fun, it's not, it doesn't hit the same, because you don't even have that basic understanding and you can't speak the language. So yeah, guys, it just really depends. There's no right answer, right? I would assume they prefer Brazilian men just because of that understanding. But at the same time, don't get it twisted. They do love American men too. They're checking out for brothers out there. So you know what I mean? And in terms of race, let's talk about race real quick, because I know race is a big topic. And of course, this has to do with the category we're talking about. In terms of preferences of white, black, Latino, or tan, whatever, I mean, it really depends. It really depends on the woman. Every woman's different. I know white women that date black guys out there, black Brazilian guys, right? I know black women that date their own kind, that date black men. It really depends. However, in Latin America, this is a bit controversial. In Latin America, and I've also made a video about this too. You know, there is a belief in Latin America, not just in Brazil, this goes across the line, and even in America and other countries, in Asia too. There is a belief that, you know, you have to strengthen the race. You have to whiten the race, because a lot of people look up to white genetics, blue eyes, green eyes, blonde hair, all that. And so the thing is, some women will prefer white men because of this, even though they're not the most attractive of white men, right? They're going to prefer the white man because, one, the genetics, and two, they're going to assume because they're white that they got money, stability, right? So they go after those men. It's not that they hate the black men. It's just they have a preference. It's just like anyone else, right? So for me right now, I prefer Brazilian women. That is my preference. Does that mean I won't date a Colombian woman? I won't date a Dominican woman? I won't date any other type of girl, Ukrainian girl, Russian girl? No, I'll still give chances to those women. But if I had a beautiful Brazilian girl in front of me and a beautiful Ukrainian girl over me, no offense to the Ukrainian girl, but I'm going to pick the Brazilian girls. That's just my preference. So these girls, they do have a preference, but there is also those girls, like I said before, that do have that that conditioning in their head. That's what I'm going to call it. To where this is what they're going to go after, because that's what they've been told all their lives. That's what they see in the magazines and in the movies. And they think that their kids are going to come out much more attractive that way by mixing with a white man. Okay. So it's very complex conversation to have. Now, are there still a lot of women that are checking for brothers? Absolutely. I mean, guys, have you guys seen Dawn Banks' channel? Have you guys seen DJP International? So all these brothers out here that are doing big things in Brazil. So yes, it is still possible for you to do great things out there. Brazil is the most diverse country in the world. You got a lot of Lebanese people, Japanese people, people from all around the world. Okay. And they all mix with one another, meaning that you got chances of mixing too. Now, the last category I want to go over is the red flags you guys have to look out for when it comes to Brazil. Okay, so I'm gonna go over each and every one of these. Now, these aren't really the majority. Okay, it's the minority of the population. Again, this is the minority of the population. This isn't the majority of Brazilian women. This is a minority. But I'm letting y'all know these are red flags you have to look out for. So like any country in the world, you got to watch out with the gold diggers and the girls that are just looking for a quick buck. How you know that is very easy. If they just met you and they're already asking you for money, they're like, oh, my hamster or my dad or my mom or, you know, all this other shit, just like any other country. They're probably just using you as an ATM machine. Okay, because a woman that truly respects themselves, like this is something that I know about certain women out in Brazil. I've met certain women out there that have way too much pride to ask a dude off the rip for money. They have way too much pride. They work so hard. A lot of these girls do work. They have full-time jobs. They'd feel embarrassed. They'd be sick to their stomach to ask a foreigner that they just met the same day for money. They'd feel some type of way asking a guy for money off the rip like that. Girls that truly respect themselves and girls that truly like you won't ask you that out of fear of losing you. But girls that have been around the block a couple times with gringos, that are used to, you know, taking advantage of gringos, that don't give a fuck if you leave or not, they're going to be the ones to be asking you for money. You know, because they've done it before. They either done it before, they've seen their friends do it before, or they don't really give a fuck about you as much as you think. If they do care about you, the last thing they want to do is ask you for money because they know there's a high probability you're going to back out and leave and not want to talk to them anymore and get turned off, because that's one of the biggest turnoffs for us American men is a woman that asks us for money off the rip. We don't like it, right? It's the same thing like us telling a woman, hey, let's get intimate real quick, and you just met the girl. That's a turnoff for the girl because now she feels like an object instead of a person. So it's the same thing like us. We feel like an object, like an ATM machine instead of a person when a girl asks us off the rip for money. So yeah, guys, if a girl asks you off the rip for money, whether that's on Tinder, in person, don't deal with this woman, all right? Don't deal with her. Or what you can do to test her out for shits and giggles, and this is what I do, is I've had a girl recently tell me that. And I told her straight up, listen, I have a rule. My rule is I don't give anyone money when I just know them. I got to date you for me to even give you a little something. And that's the way I be telling them. And some girls back out. And if they back out, I knew it was a scam to begin with. Because I do understand there are women that may like you that are truly going through it. And they're embarrassed to ask you, but they ask you because it's the last resort. They got to do that, or there's not going to be a roof over their heads. And I understand there's women like that, but it's a minority. What I notice is the women that stick around after you tell them no, it's to test you to see if down the line you eventually give them money, right? So you also got to watch all those women too. But I would suggest, really, to be honest with you, I would suggest just cut off a woman that ever asked for money off the rip like that, because either way, it's a huge red flag. Another one I want to tell you that's very, very important is be very careful with the girls you meet out in the street. Now, this doesn't happen as much in Brazil and Rio as much as it does in some other countries, right? But yes, there have been some cases of scopolamine or their equivalent of scopolamine, which I think is called the Cinderella in Rio and in Brazil. So it does exist out there. It's minimal, it's a minority, but it still exists. So be very careful out there. And usually this happens in the districts of Lapa, Pedro de Sal. Pedro de Sal, for those of you who don't know, I already talked about Lapa already. But Pedro de Sal is a section that's literally in the Lapa district where basically everyone meets up on Mondays. Out of all the days, right, they pick Monday to party. But Monday is a big party day in Rio, specifically Pedro de Sal. So everyone meets up in Pedro de Sal on Mondays. They have these cheap caipirinhas out there, and they just have a good old time. It's like a street party. And everyone's out in the street dancing around, having a good time. Now, this usually happens. This type of stuff happens in the Lapa district and Pedro de Sal. Right? A lot of the cases started off there, where a guy's having a good time, too drunk, and a girl comes on him, and a girl takes, huge interest into them. And that's another thing. If a girl off the rip is super, super, super interested in you to the point where it just feels too good to be true, that should be a red flag in itself, because ain't no girl in the world going to be interested in you off the rip like that, like super interested. Like, yeah, they could be a little interested in you, but if they're super interested where they're begging you to go over to your crib because they, want to get intimate, that is a red flag. The reason for that is because they want to go over to your crib, they want to pop something in your drink, and then they're going to rob you. And that's happened to some guys. In fact, this one guy got deleted last summer, I think, because of that. And some other guys have been robbed because of that. And it usually happens in the Lapa district or Pedro de Sal. So be very careful what girls you bring over to your crib. In fact, if anything, if you get like a red flag about a girl, give her your number and be like, hey, we'll meet up another day. And you vet her from there instead of taking her over. You don't want to be thirsty, super thirsty, and invite a girl over to your crib that you have a very weird suspicion about. Because like I said, that could be the last. All right. And I don't want to see any of my brothers in the news no more on YouTube. Okay. So yeah, guys, be very careful in those districts. Be very careful the women you meet on the street. So while there are a lot of great women out there in the streets, there's also some women that are preying on gringos because they know you got money and you got a lot of prized possessions and valuables in your crib. So yeah, guys, that wraps up my dating in Brazil video. I hope you guys really enjoyed that. I tried my best to go over as much things as I could with y'all, but I think I covered all the bases here. If I left anything out, you guys can put it in the comment section. I'll make a video about it in the future. If I was wrong about anything, you could tell me that in the comment section. But I stand on everything I said, and I try to say as respectfully as possible because I love Brazil with all my heart, right? And while there's a lot of good and there's far more good than bad, there is also bad, and you guys need to know about it so you can avoid these things. It's the same thing with any country. I'm not saying that Brazil is a bad country or Brazil is the only country that has these things, right? Because I clearly said over all this video that literally this exists in every country. So yeah, but Brasileiros, don't get mad at me. I love ya, okay? But yeah, guys, that is the video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Check out the Patreon, subscribe, and if you guys want to see more videos like this, check out this video over here.